Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron here. I hope you're having a great day in Jesus. We're looking, and have been looking, we've done a few videos comparing the Christian Standard Bible with the King James Version of the Bible. Now, I'm kind of doing this blind, and one of the things I'm doing is a lot of times you hear the statement, you'll hear, well, no doctrine's changed, they're 99% like, and all this kind of stuff. We're going to see if that's really true, if it's really 99%, because it's not just these major scriptures, whole verses, big lines, but there's minor nuances that are changed or usually missing words. And as Westcott and Hort tried to say, that the King James was a conflation of majesty, but obviously people who study ancient manuscripts show that usually they either did pseudepigrapha, which they lied and made a whole book, or they rescinded and took out words. So we'll go to Mark 13:33. This is what it says in the King James. You can follow along, and you may have another translation you might want to follow along at, a MEV, a New King James, a NASB. And it says, "Take ye heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is." Take ye heed, watch and pray. We're going to see what this says in the CSB. It says, "Watch, be alert, for you don't know when the time is coming." So down here, where I've got my finger here, 33, we'll let Brother Mallory zoom in on that while I'm making some commentary. So you see it takes prayer out. It's talking about the end time, and it just says be alert. Well, how about praying? And so we're living in an enormously prayerless generation. So we can see that this takes out prayer, but it doesn't just take out prayer. We're going to see some other things that it takes out as well. It's going to take out not just prayer, but we'll back up in Mark to Mark 9:29. And I say we're going to see, I mean, it may be in here because you know, the eclectic Greek text is ever changing. That's the reason it has evolution kind of as its basis, you know. So Mark 9:29, it says, "And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting." So now maybe the CSB left fasting in there. 9:29. We'll see. And it says, "And he told them, this kind can come out by nothing but prayer." So it's in the second column here, 9:29. So you'll notice this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting in the King James. This kind can come out only by prayer. Now, some people say, well, what does the manuscript say? What do, you know, we'll get into all that later. I've done many videos on that. We'll do more. But the point of these videos is to say that this definitely, differences. This is not the same thing. Now, we'll go to Matthew 17:21. Which is one of the more popular ones when you get into textual criticism. "Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting." Most of us have heard that. "Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting." Let's see what it says here. It says absolutely nothing. And we'll see if Brother Mallory can zoom in there. It's in the second column right here, that it just skips from verse 20 to verse 22. "Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting." So just think, if all you had is the Gospel of Matthew, you know, all around the world and all throughout history, people have only had portions of the Bible, and that whole verse is missing. So people say, well, you find it in another verse. Well, but what if God, because of the way we learn, repetition's the mother of learning, wanted it in there multiple times? So these are not good things. So you can just see there's obviously a difference. Now we'll go to Acts 10:30. Acts 10:30. This is about Cornelius. And in Acts 10:30, and this may be in there, but I know like the NIV totally eviscerates fasting. Now they've added it back in. I guess they realized they got some pushback and criticism there. So 10:30, and Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing. So the gospel went to the Gentiles because somebody was fasting and praying. So 10:30 here says, Cornelius replied, 4 days ago at this hour, at 3 in the afternoon, I was praying in my house. Just then a man in dazzling clothing stood before me. I was fasting. Notice verse 30. It's again in the second column, right at the top. Verse 30, it takes out fasting. So notice that it just removes that. So now we're going to look at a couple of other instances and see if fasting is in there. So let's go to 2 Corinthians 6:5. 2 Corinthians 6:5. See what that says. I'm using my trusty little If the Foundations Be Destroyed book. I've done a review on that. Recommend that to everybody. Okay, he says, in stripes and imprisonments and tumults and labors and watchings and fastings. Now let's see what it says in 2 Corinthians 6:5 in the Christian Standard Bible. Now I do want to make my obligatory disclaimer. I don't think the people who did this were evil. I think they were misguided. They don't maybe understand all of the things of textual criticism and on and so forth. But I don't think they were Masons that were secretly joined together in a witches' coven chanting over it, saying, I can't believe we're going to destroy all the Christians. I don't think any of that. But I do think that Satanists and atheists, primarily more than Satanists, hundreds of years ago, because I've read the literature, got together and said textual criticism is the way to destroy Christianity. And that's if anybody's just read the literature of the Enlightenment in the 1700s, you know that's true. Okay, so... And I should have said atheist rather than Satanist, because somebody will parse my words when they don't want to do the overall truth. They'll begin to parse the words. Okay, by beatings, by imprisonments, by riots, by labors, by sleepless nights, by times of hunger. So notice it takes out fastings. Fasting is a deliberate thing. Hungry is just because he didn't have food. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 11:27. It's going to do something similar. But maybe it says in weariness and painfulness and watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness. So hunger and thirst, so obviously fasting's talking about something he did. Hunger and thirst is something that could not be prevented. Now let's see what 2 Corinthians 11:27 says in the CSB. I like this little giveaway copy. It's good, clear print, by the way, in the CSV. Okay, CSB. It says, toil and hardness, many sleepless nights, hunger and thirst, often without food, cold and without clothing. See, that doesn't even make any sense. It's on this bottom column down here towards the bottom, 11:27. In hunger and thirsting and often without food. Well, obviously, if you're hungering and thirsting, how can you be hungry without food? So what do they have against fasting? Oh, maybe because only Satan is defeated by fasting. Maybe that's it. So, some things are. I say Satan, it says this kind only comes out by prayer and fasting. Saying, well, that was before the gospel, so now all of them come out just by Jesus' name? Well, maybe, but God still wants us to fast. All right. So now we'll go to Luke 11:2. We're on the subject of fasting and prayer. We're going to see how the Lord's Prayer is eviscerated in maybe the CSB. Maybe it's in there. So let's go to Luke 11:2. And it said, and he said unto them, when you pray, say, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. Let's see what it says here in Luke 11:2. Because a lot of people say, well, there's just a difference in the doxology, in the ending of the Lord's Prayer between the two. We're going to see if that's really true. So let's see how Luke 11:2 reads here, and maybe it's in here. He said unto them, whenever you pray, say, Father, your name be honored is holy, your kingdom come. Now let's see what it says in the King James again. And he said unto them, when you pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. We'll read that again. He said unto them, whenever you pray, say, Father, your name be honored is holy, your kingdom come. Boom. It. And that's in the first column over here, right up towards the top. I know it's difficult for Brother Mallory to zoom in there, and I'll pull the Bible away early and all this. But you can see that is huge amounts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, if my quick count of words, missing. 15 words missing from the Lord's Prayer. Isn't that terrible? So, the point of this video is the King James and the CSB, in many ways, great and small, are different. We're not getting into the textual variants of why they should be there, how they entered in. The fact is they're different. And so people who say, well, use whatever translation you want because they all say the same thing, that is not true. That's just inaccurate. So talk with you later. God bless. Love you in Jesus' name.